Hi guys, another foraging video today, and I'm not even leaving the house because we're talking about something else that we've got growing all around the property here, and that is something called, well, it's got lots of names. Herb Bennet is one name, Wood Avens is another name, Clove Root is another name, which isn't perhaps as well used, but it's probably my favourite because it really describes what we're after on the plant. And we've got some growing just down here. So this is the plant that we're talking about. And I wanted to show you this one just because it's in flower. It's got these little yellow flowers on, and I just wanted to show you that one quickly because some of the others that we're going to, actually here's some more. It is absolutely everywhere. Look, that's with the flowers opened up a bit more. So the flowers are a great way to spot it later in the year from now onwards, but they're not really how you identify it. It's a really simple to identify plant. I can't think of anything dangerous that you're going to confuse it with because it's the leaves really that you're going to be looking for. And here's another example. As you can tell, our borders are, you know, they're not manicured, they're left to a degree. We manage them a little bit, but we allow lots of things to grow in there, lots of native plants to grow in there, and this is just one of them. But so this is actually quite a big plant. Once a plant gets to this size, we start to become, believe it or not, a little bit less interested in it. And the reason for that is because, for me, the most sought after part of this plant is actually below ground. Before we get there though, let's talk about some identification features. And to do that, I want to take you just around the corner here, up this path. Here, we've got some more of it growing. So here you can see another nice big plant, a nice big Wood Avens plant. And just over here, we've got the only thing I think you could really confuse it with, and you'd have to try pretty hard. And that there is a wild strawberry plant. So you can see we've got wild strawberries over here. And you can see that superficially, the leaves can look very similar. However, on these Wood Avens, just behind these leaflets that grow in threes, where they meet the stem, you've got some more leaflets. And that's one of the key identifiers. Just the general shape of those leaves, it really is quite a distinctive plant. Like I say, there's nothing else quite like it, and there's nothing dangerous that you're going to confuse it with. Obviously, a little bit later in the season, they're even easier to identify and spot because they'll have those yellow flowers on, like we've seen over there near the house. But even before they do, once you've seen one and got to grips with one, you'll be seeing them everywhere, because habitat wise, they like anywhere shady. You won't find a woodland that doesn't have these growing in them in the UK, or you probably won't. There's not going to be many. And the same applies for hedgerows, and you know, if you look hard enough, they're in there. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about the edible parts of the plant above ground. Now, the leaves are quite neutral in flavour. They don't have a strong flavour. You can boil them, use them like greens. You can put them in salads. But to my mind, they're not the star of the show for this plant. And to show you that, we're going to go back over here. So this plant down here, as I said before, it's a bit on the big side for us to be that interested in the roots normally. The reason being, throughout the season, the roots basically metabolize themselves and they use the energy that they have stored in them to build all this foliage, and the roots basically shrink. So I'm not suggesting that there's, you know, it's a complete waste to harvest this plant now, because we will use the roots, but if we'd harvested it right at the start of the year in January, February, or any time over winter, those roots would have been much bigger than we're about to see. Now the roots are usually quite spindly, and I'm expecting these, because the plant is so mature, to be really quite spindly. But let's have a look and see what we find. Now I mentioned earlier in the video that another name for this plant is Clove Root. And the reason for that is because the roots taste and smell of cloves. We'll just beat this soil off it a minute. So be careful when you're pulling your plant up, because you may well pull up something else with it that isn't clove root, and you're going to have a load of roots you don't want in there. So just be aware of that, and after you've got it up, take the time to have a look. It's also worth saying at this point, actually, if you are going to forage for things like this, then you need the landowner's permission to dig things up. Even if you're out foraging, even if it's a weed, if it's a wild plant, here in the UK, the law states you can harvest basically anything down to the ground. So, you know, anything below the ground, you do need the landowner's permission or you'll be breaking the law. So you'll see here, as predicted, we've got lots and lots of these spindly roots, but we do also have a couple of slightly bigger ones. And if you might be surprised by how strong earth smells, because when you first dig it up, until you get them clean, you might struggle to actually smell the cloves. Yeah, even now, all I can smell is earth. But luckily, I've got an outside tap just here, so I'm going to rinse this off and then we'll have another chat. There we go. Right, I'm back. We'll just dry those off. And you can see they look a bit different now. And you can definitely smell the cloves, particularly if you break one. That root smells like clove, and you use it exactly the same way. If you're going to make mulled wine or whatever recipe calls for cloves, you can use these roots. So what we're going to do with these guys, and what we would do usually in the winter time, is we'd harvest the roots then, because they'd be much bigger. Like I say, all of this growth, the energy for it has come from these roots. So if you harvest them at the right time of year, you can get probably 3 or 4 times the root from a plant. And what we're going to do is take this inside and dry that in our dehydrator, and that there is going to be a clove substitute. Now this year, as regular viewers of my videos will know, this year in particular, this is really, really useful to me, because in September I'm doing a self-sufficiency challenge where I'm eating for the entire month of September. I'm eating and drinking nothing except for the food that I can either forage myself, grow myself, harvest myself, or catch myself. So the only exception is water, and I'm allowed to barter, I'm allowed to trade some of the things that I make here and grow here for some other things. So as you can imagine, it's going to be quite difficult for me to get hold of things like spices. So this is going to be really useful in September. So that's it. That is Clove Root. So if you want to follow along with my September challenge, make sure that you're subscribed. Press that subscribe button right now. If you've liked this video, please press that like button. It makes a big difference to me while I'm trying to grow the channel. Also, leave a comment down below. Let me know what kind of native spices you're finding and what spices you think I can be foraging for, or what you've foraged for already. Please do let me know. I do love hearing from all of you guys. And that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks ever so much for watching. Catch you on the next one. Bye.